No. Come on, where is it?
Dave, it's your Idaho Central app here. Any chance you're missing a debit card? Let's get that taken care of for you. With ICCU's card control, you can turn any card off with the tap of your finger.
You got it.
And back on again. Out, 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 out. The closest Idaho Central Credit Union branch is in your pocket.
Pow day.
Dude, let's go.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Bronco Nation News Live from BroncoNationNews.com is presented by RowPaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics. All Bronco Nation news broadcasts come from the Western Collective Studios. Head down to Western Collective's locations in Garden City or downtown Boise to try some of their delicious beers, including the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the first beer to support an NIL collective. Now, here's four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, happy Monday. How we doing, Bronco Nation? Welcome into a live edition here, Bronco Nation News Live. My name is BJ Rains with Bronco Nation News and our man on a blue and orange store Monday, as always. They're in the KTIK studios, 95.3. The Ticket is our man, Mike Prater. And Mike, just like we all predicted and imagined all along, your Boise State Broncos, the last Mountain West basketball team, still standing.
Oh, I didn't think of it that way. Are you kidding me? You're absolutely right. That's kind of crazy, huh? I didn't expect that. We had a lot of time. Spent a lot of time in the offseason talking about that scenario, and here we are. A little bit different, but that's a very good point. I woke up on a Monday morning and did not think about that. So that's a little extra juice in our step, right?
Yeah, I mean, I say that facetiously. They would have much rather been in Colorado State or New Mexico's, situation. And I guess even they would have, if they had made the Sweet 16, they would have maybe been done still unless they made the Final Four before Boise State plays next Monday. But spring break is over. Boise State is back. Their first practice is today as they get ready for the crown, and football resumes practice tomorrow. We'll talk to Eric Chenander at 11 o'clock today. You got Pro Day on Wednesday, so both sports still cooking strong this week, Mike.
Yeah, it's a monster week at Boise State, and if people think it's the offseason, contraire, it's good for our business. So it's a nice collision of seasons, and it's going to be college. It's going to be pro. It's going to be football. It's going to be basketball. It's going to be a spectacular week, BJ, and that doesn't even include the NCAA stuff that we get to watch later on in the week. So what a fun week for sports fans.
Yeah, we got the transfer portal opening as well today for basketball. So we'll see what if any additions get put in there this week for that. But man, what a weekend for the Mountain West, though, Mike Prater. Colorado State falls on the buzzer beater, literally at the buzzer. I mean, maybe it was a travel, maybe it wasn't, but they're not calling that in that situation. And then New Mexico certainly had a chance there and just couldn't make enough plays late, had a tough whistle there. Sure, watched a lot of these games, Mike. It seemed like the higher seed from the Power Conference in a lot of games, not just Mountain West games, seemed to get a lot of the the big calls down the stretch. And I know there's no collusion. It's just random, whatever. But it did seem like at times the smaller guys got a little bit of a rough whistle. And I thought New Mexico, not to be a Mountain West homer or whatever, but I thought there was a couple calls with about 10 minutes to go that really swung that game. Nelly Jr. Joseph getting his 4th foul on kind of a questionable call. But New Mexico, won a game, got to the second round, had a chance. Colorado State was literally a buzzer beater away from the Sweet 16. So I know you detailed it last week on your show, kind of the struggles of the Mountain West. But I think now if you add it up, the last 3 years with the two results of this weekend, the last 3 years, they've actually finished with higher average wins than expected the last 3 years. So maybe for the league and next year in their final year, it'll continue to turn in the right direction. But tough ones for New Mexico and certainly Colorado State yesterday.
Yeah, but a good showing. It was a good showing for the Mountain West, and they needed this good showing. And you put it into 3-year chunks. I'll put it into 5-year chunks. You can kind of slice it and dice it however the way you want it. It doesn't matter. The Mountain West needed this kind of performance for its basketball team, and it needed this kind of performance outside of a San Diego State, which has been carrying the banner for this basketball conference for a couple of years now. So it was nice to see New Mexico compete, and I don't care how far they got, but they competed all the way to the very end last night. Colorado State, they both proved that they could belong in the top 20, top 25 teams in the college basketball and play in these kind of competitive tournaments. So I thought it was a really nice showing, and hopefully it's momentum. This is a basketball conference that needs this kind of momentum, needs this kind of postseason credibility, and it's been a good tournament. I'm sure that they would have loved to have had one team into the Sweet 16, and we can sit here and slice and dice those two games yesterday as much as possible, but I thought it worked out pretty well, and I didn't get into the foul situation as much as you did, but two competitive games and a nice showing by the Mountain West. You got to give them credit for what they did in this NCAA tournament.
And as I mentioned now, Boise State resumes practice today for the Crown. That's one of the unique things about this tournament, Mike, is the delay here. The NIT, is already down to their quarterfinals. They've had 2 rounds, I think, already. The CIT or whatever has started up last week or this week, but a whole nother week. I mean, Boise State's game is not for a week from today. And so I think if Boise State had made the NIT, or if this Crown tournament had been, last Tuesday or Wednesday, and you're all mad you didn't get in the tournament, maybe there's a different kind of feeling if it happens so quickly. But these guys got spring break off to go home and be with their family. I mean, you never get that during basketball season at this time of year, to get to refresh, take a break, go home. And now guys like Tyson and Alvaro and Omar Stanley can come back and refreshed and say, you know what, let's have another week with these guys and go see what happens. And so is it the NCAA tournament? No. Is it close? No. It's a consolation tournament. It is what it is. But the way it's worked out now to get another week to, kind of, a little bit, as much as you can, I guess, build the anticipation or whatever to see them play again down there in Vegas, and then to have the tournament next week. You get 2 more weeks at least, or another 8 days, I guess, at a minimum of Boise State basketball here. And when this tournament kicks off next Monday, you'll have 4 games all day on FS1, 4 games all day Tuesday on FS1, and you're going to have the final 4 set in the real tournament. And so fans are looking for basketball, and there's going to be a whole week of it down there in Vegas. Again, I know it is what it is, but for what it is, I think it's the schedule and things. I kind of like the way this is set up.
Yeah, I struggle with it a little bit.
I knew you did go it. That's all right.
Yeah, but no, and I'm not being a contrarian, and what you said is right. I mean, there's 2 sides to this debate in terms of everything you just said, and I love the fact, and I said this when this tournament was announced. To me, the only really good thing about this tournament is, 1, they get to keep playing, and that's always a good thing. But 2, just the brotherhood and the fact that this team gets to do exactly what you just said. They get to go on a spring break vacation and go hang out with family and friends and loved ones, or just, sit in their dorm room and eat Cheetos and watch TV and just take a mental break. What they do is brutal. So I like that. And the fact that they get to come back together and be together for another 10 days, 2 weeks, or however long this thing goes, I think that's cool. Because when your college basketball season, your college sports season ends, it's so sudden this time of year, and it's painful for these guys who have put their blood, sweat, and tears into what they're doing for, 9 months, 10 months, 12 months, 4 years, and all of a sudden it's over. That's brutal. So I think it's really, really cool that you get to take a deep breath. You get to come back together. You get to be with the brotherhood for almost like a family reunion where it's all good, it's all great, it's all kumbaya, and it's really, really cool. I don't really care if they win in this tournament. I'm not invested that way. I just think it's a really, really cool experience for that Boise State basketball family of 20 dudes just doing their thing, getting together with the brotherhood one last time. I love that part. The rest of it, I'll take it because the timing doesn't really work for me. Obviously, the incentive of winning this basketball tournament doesn't work for me. And at the end of the day, if they got some cash, that's even better, BJ.
Yeah, and as a reminder, here's the bracket. We'll throw that on the screen here. Boise State will play George Washington out of the A-10. They won 21 games last year. I know Mike Prater's favorite website, Ken Palm, does have this as a 7-point win for Boise State in the opening round game. So ideally they could win this first game and move on. And then that second game, Mike Prater, on Wednesday afternoon against either Utah or Butler, there would be $50,000 on the line in that second game. All you got to do is win 2 games to get $50,000. So you win one game, and all of a sudden, the kind of cool, unique thing of this is you'd be playing either Butler or Utah with a $50,000 pot coming back to divide amongst the players on the line in this game. So, I mean, it's just the new era we're in, Mike Prater. But I mean, you're going to have these guys knowing if they win this game, they're each getting $5,000.
I love that. I love that. And is that what they're doing? I was going to ask you about that. If Leon Rice has $50,000 to divvy up, is that kind of what he's doing? Is this divided equally amongst the top 10 players on the team? Is that the formula? Do they tell you that, or can Leon Rice do whatever he wants with that cash?
I'm still trying to figure that out, to be honest. I mean, I don't know if a walk-on that doesn't play, is that not fair if he doesn't get any cash, or and also, I mean, we may have a player or two leave the roster between the next day, any minute. Who knows? So if there's a guy gone, that's more cash to be divided amongst the players that go down to this tournament. So we don't even really know how many guys are going to be on the team playing in this tournament, to be honest. I don't know if it's guys that have to appear in the game to get paid, or if they divide it among evenly. And my understanding is, though, that and technically the payments don't go right to the school, I guess, Mike. They go to the collective and then they pay them out. I don't know. There's some semantics with this.
Gotcha.
But I do think that this money goes to this current team. They're not going to take this $300,000 if they win and give it all to key players for next year or something. My understanding is that the plan, at least, is supposed to be for the guys on the current team to get this money, and then you figure out next year. But yeah, the unique timing of this, Mike, is that you literally do have the transfer portal opening right now. And I saw a big man from Utah that's already, been around at some places, Colorado, I believe. And I forget, he is a local kid, right? I believe. But, they've said, hey, because you told me the other day, I thought, 7 players are in the transfer portal from Utah. Turns out, I guess, just to have enough players, yeah, they are all in the portal, but they're all going to play in this tournament anyway. And maybe that's a way to showcase themselves on national TV for other schools. And because of the uniqueness of this, where Utah has a new coach, but they just wouldn't have enough players to do this. They said, okay, well, if everyone's going to leave anyway, might as well have one more ride at this thing in Vegas. And so you're going to have a Utah team where those guys are kind of playing for themselves here in their next stop and their cash. And we'll see, who. I saw a player on Georgetown, a local kid as well, Drew Felder. We'll see what he's leaving. I don't know if he's going to play in this tournament or not, but I mean, I think I saw already 50 plus, you had 200 plus already because of coaching changes and grad transfers and things like that. But this morning, the transfer portal opened to anybody in college basketball, and you're already seeing some big names in there. I mean, how about Nick Boyd from San Diego State, the lefty shooter, like the very day after their game announced that he was going to be leaving. That was a big surprise to a lot of people. I mean, he single-handedly beat Boise State down there in Viejas Arena. So yeah, nothing would surprise me these days. None of us expected Chibuzo Abo to leave. But you have the transfer portal open this week, Boise State practicing, and all these, conversations going on behind the scenes now. And it does create a little bit of a weird scenario here for Leon Rice and all the, teams that are in this tournament here, where you're trying to see who's with us and who's not. And David Moats told us last week, if you're, we're only taking the guys down there that want to be here next year, and they're going to kind of know a little clarity on that before they go down there. So maybe that's why they're not opening up practice to the media for a couple of days. Maybe they don't want us knowing who's there or not there today. I don't know. But kind of a unique roster management, juggling, game planning, week for Boise State and other teams here.
Yeah, that's the collision of weirdness and the timing of all this. And I still don't understand what the NCAA. I don't even know who sets the transfer portal window. I don't. Is that the NCAA? Is that a committee? I don't even know, because it's really weird. We're opening up transfer portals in the middle of the bowl season, in the middle of the CFP playoffs. We're opening up transfer portals after the first weekend of the NCAA tournament. It just seems really, really weird to me. I don't like it at all. So it's the transfer portal. I mean, I'll tell you this. I don't know what's going to happen with the BSU George Washington game, and I don't study it that close, but I can tell you right now that if Boise State's playing Utah in a second round game, I'm all on board Boise State, especially if they can keep their team together. I don't follow Utah basketball as closely as I probably should, but when I find out that they got rid of their coach, Half the roster is going to the transfer portal. Some of them are going to stick around and play in this tournament. Is the old coach or the new coach who's going to play? I just don't like this. And we get this kind of icky feeling when the bowl season rolls around, and it's just kind of a weird, gross part of sports. So I really hope, and maybe this is part of where the Boise State family comes into play. And you got to give Leon Rice pretty much good credit for that. Boise State, Leon Rice, and Spencer Danielson do a nice job with the transfer portal under really, really, really extreme conditions. And maybe we find out a day or two or today or whatever that Boise State's all sticking together. I wouldn't be surprised if this entire roster stuck together. I wouldn't be surprised if they lost one or two. That'll be the curiosity of this week. But when Boise State's playing a basketball game, I don't like to play the transfer portal game. It's kind of weird. It's kind of icky. It's kind of strange. I know it's part of the society that we live in today, and I guess it adds intrigue for guys like you who do what we do for a living, but that doesn't mean it's right. It's still just a little bit weird to me.
And as I said last week, whether you want to call it a report or whatever, I mean, my understanding was a lot of guys on this roster were getting hit up by a lot of other schools, and even guys like RJ Keene, who are, valuable pieces, but you wouldn't think another school would want to, offer them six figures to transfer. And that's the kind of money being thrown around in the transfer portal right now. So I know they're wanting to put a lot of the money, Mike, into football, and rightfully so, in terms of the revenue sharing and the, NIL and all that. But guys like Andrew Meadow and Pearson Carmichael and Javen Buchanan, like these days in college basketball, a solid Mountain West player is worth, a lot of money right now. And so it's going to be very interesting to see how much of it is culture and, family, whatever, versus taking the top dollar, because very similar to football, there's going to be a lot of guys on this roster that could take higher dollars elsewhere.
Well, yeah, and Andrew Meadow, I mean, look at the perfect time to get hot. And I don't know exactly what his numbers are, but over the last 8 games, 20 points a game, and dramatically doing it. And he also just kind of flexing his muscle and showing what kind of athleticism and what kind of power that dude has on a basketball court. You could put together a highlight reel for Andrew Meadow right now, put it together with the stats, put it together with a variety of different moves that he's shown us over the last 6 weeks, 2 months, and probably go out there and market yourself for $250,000 or at least a couple $100,000 in the transfer portal today. So, guys like Andrew Meadow could certainly shop himself a lot. He's red hot right now. If he stays at Boise State, holy cow, that's a massive statement, and I really hope he stays. Leon Rice and this community, we'd love to see Andrew Meadow stick around for another couple of years and play basketball here, but that's a guy who could easily leave based on what he's done over these last few weeks.
And like I said, it's very similar to football, where guys like Ashton Jeanty, and then go down the list with even this year, keeping all the guys they did, Jaden Virgin Morgan and all the other guys that easily could have got some bigger offers elsewhere. It's kudos to all the way at the top, Jeremiah Dickey, and down to the coaching staff and everybody else for making this a environment and a culture and a city where these guys want to stay. It just doesn't happen elsewhere. I mean, you're seeing left and right today, guys going in the transfer portal to cash in. There's going to be thousands of names in the transfer portal, and there is a surprise every year. Like I said, Chibuzo Abo, nobody expected him to leave, went for the bigger payday, and who knows how that, he'll down years from now, think about that decision. But I would just say, like, they always talk about built different. There is something here where a lot of these guys, if they stay, I mean, they really probably are built different, because there's numerous guys on this roster that I really do believe, starting with Tyson last year and going down the line, are going to get offered way more money, and we'll see. If you're a guy like RJ Keene, let's just start at the bottom, and you're getting offered $100,000 by somebody to go transfer, and you're getting 15 to 20 at Boise State. I mean, 5 times. I mean, what's more important, I guess, taking that $80,000 and that $100,000 as a college kid that who knows what his career is in pro basketball and cashing in right away, or graduating from here and having that, his alma mater be here and want to bring his family back to games here in years. And, he's not going to be the guy that has a statue or something, but in terms of a legacy, or just a guy that can come back and always be part of this family, would he have that if he went 2 years somewhere else just to get a bigger payday, or is his role going to be bigger here? So we'll see what happens. I would suspect, at least this week, Mike, I just personally be a little surprised if the Carmichaels or Meadows of the world leave before this tournament. I think you could certainly see a Chris Lockett type or a Dylan Anderson type, or somebody that maybe hasn't played a lot, know they're going to leave and want to get a head start on where they're going to go. But if you're a Carmichael or a Meadow, you could play through this tournament and still have plenty of options here in 2 weeks. And so I personally don't think those guys would leave right now. But like I said, I mean, this is literally by the second changing. Somebody could already be in the transfer portal that we haven't seen on Twitter in the last 10 minutes. So I don't know, but I do think there's some in terms of transfer portal. Mike, last basketball thought, and then we'll move on to football. The coaching is going to be interesting. I mean, I don't think this is year. Obviously, we've had years where Leon Rice's name was being floated around a lot. It doesn't seem like that's the case this year, but certainly the Mountain West could look a lot different because Nico Medved looks like is by all accounts the leader to go to Minnesota there. Someone in the chat's even saying that's official. We'll see if that I'll check Twitter while we're talking here. But Nico Medved potentially going to Minnesota. What does Patino do? They're at New Mexico. Is Villanova, or is there another job that potentially opens up for him? And then what happens with the transfer portal with those players going or staying? I mean, it's the next couple of days here for the Mountain West, both on the player front and the coaching front, could be interesting. Yeah, we'll keep a close eye on that. Hey, I got one quick question for you about just kind of getting into the psyche. And we always talked about the transfer portal and reasons to leave, but like, is RJ, and this team is better than anybody, but RJ Keene and Tyson Degenhardt are close friends. They're like best friends, right? And if that's the case and Tyson Degenhardt is gone, maybe RJ Keene thinks, okay, that's kind of the tiebreaker for me. My best friend is going off to play pro basketball somewhere, and I'm stuck here in Boise, and yeah, I can make $25,000. Maybe, Leon even bumps that up to whatever. But somebody else is offering him six figures. I think if you're a 20-year-old kid, man, 21-year-old kid, that cash is pretty important, especially if it's a six-figure cash number and your personal best friend here in town on campus on this basketball team is gone. That's a difference maker. So I know I kind of beat up RJ Keene earlier in the season about being a starter, and that was really it. I loved the role that he played. He's the perfect Boise State basketball player for this kind of a program. Just the guy that comes off, he's so invaluable and so important in the role that he plays, and he's productive, and he's good, and he's a fan favorite, and he's really, really fun to watch when they put him in that role. So I hope a guy like RJ Keene sticks around, and maybe Leon figures out a way to get him a little bit of extra cash. But it's just really weird. From the top of the bot to the top of the roster to the bottom of the roster, you got to play this checkers game. And Leon Rice, college basketball coaches and football coaches used to their team would get beat, and then they would take a 10-day break and kind of regroup. Man, there's no break for these guys anymore. It's just go 24/7, 365. I would not want to be a coach in this environment. That's crazy, man. And you're right about Keene. He's also really close friends and roommates, I believe, with Dylan Anderson. And I can confirm as of Saturday or Friday night, Dylan Anderson is still in town because I saw him and Keene at the Kane Brown concert randomly. Nice. So he hasn't departed town yet, but I will be curious to see. But based on talking to RJ over the months, just having a NIL deal with him and just knowing him and his family a little bit, I would suspect he's going to stay. But I do think some businesses around town should recognize that. And I mean, Atkinson's Mirror and Glass had the deal with Stanley. I think in terms of rebounding, RJ Keene needs to be getting some deals from our friends over at Atkinson's or wherever else here. So absolutely, we'll see what happens there. But by the way, Matt Norlander, CBS Sports, is reporting on Twitter here. Nico Medved is going to Minnesota. So that is happening. Nico Medved going to Minnesota. And then the other one I didn't even mention, Mike, is now that Drake's coach, McCollum, is going to Iowa. That also came out this morning. I don't think that's official yet, but the Iowa spot is now full. That means that Calhoun, the Utah State coach, looks like the favorite maybe to go to West Virginia as well, because that'd be Utah State, 3 coaches in 3 years again. If they lose a coach after 1 year, there was talk that McCollum, the Drake coach, was also a candidate at West Virginia. And when he went to Iowa, that looks like the leader in the clubhouse, Calhoun, who was a former assistant at West Virginia, has deep ties to that state and that school. As I said, being an assistant coach there, that would seem like the logical fit, but that would be tough for Utah State fans to lose another coach after 1 year. Oh, that would be so brutal. I mean, that would be so brutal. That poor basketball program just scratches and claws and fights. And for that to happen again would be absolutely brutal. And, every time these coaches leave, you take players with them. One more quick thing on Boise State and its NIL roster, because I got a curiosity. I mean, look at a guy like Dylan Anderson, and I have no idea how much money he got. Let's assume he got like a $100,000 deal. Does Leon Rice have to come back and say, all right, dude, you can stay here, but I'm cutting you down to $20,000 or $15,000, and you're going to have to take a significant pay cut? Do those kinds of things happen behind the scenes? And is that also part of this NIL chess game that coaches like Leon Rice have to play? I would believe you're 100% spot on in that case. Yes. Wow. I don't know how that works in terms of the contract. I mean, if he signs a contract for a 2-year deal or something, I don't know what the deals were on Dylan Anderson's contract, but if he signed a contract and he's owed $100,000 for this next year, if he stays, I think he's going to want to, want that $100,000 or whatever it is. And I don't know what the deal was. I don't know if it was year by year, 2 year, 3. I have no idea. I'm just saying in general, if a player signs a multi-year deal, and they say, I want my money. I lived up to my end of the deal. I'm doing these community service projects and I'm on the roster. I want my money. They could have to do that. But if it was hey, well, the deal's for 1 year and we hope to make it more next year or whatever, we'll see. But, I mean, yeah, maybe it's a case where, hey, you can stay, but yeah, that 100 is now 10 or whatever else. And
yeah.
Who knows? Because I do think they like Dylan Anderson. He's a good kid. The teammates love him. I don't think he's had any kind of problem other than just hasn't produced at the level they thought. But my understanding is he hasn't been causing any kind of problems. He's not pouting that he's sitting out. My understanding is they would love to have him back, but just not, they probably need those resources elsewhere in terms of filling that spot. So you're probably spot on with that, Mike. I don't know all the logistics. And like I said, a lot of it's semantics and Joe Nichols involved in that. And there's, rules in terms of who actually can say what and stuff. And the revenue sharing, if that happens, is going to be involved in that as well. But yeah, I mean, it's a salary cap and they say, okay, we have, I don't know, $1 million for this basketball roster. How do you allocate those funds? And do you go for 2 or 3 stars? Do you spread it out evenly? I mean, it's a new era here that we never really thought we'd be looking at, Mike.
Yeah, and that's good. And boy, this is something to keep an eye on moving forward. But just the fascinating mystery of the name, image, and likeness contract. And when name, image, and likeness first started coming on board, you heard all kinds of different stories about people getting burned because there was no such thing as contracts. These were like handshakes, and people were, I'll promise you this, I'll give you the verbal here. And now they are starting to figure out the smartness and put this stuff into writing. It seems like to me, the benefit of the program, the benefit of the business is to go with 1-year contracts, but maybe these kids like professional athletes are holding out for multi-year contracts. It's crazy to think about that. But I think at a Boise State level, man, I hope Leon Rice has the flexibility that he needs to make this basketball team and this roster better moving forward. And I'd like to think that moving forward, 1-year contracts are the best way to go for the Boise States of the world, who just really have to scratch and claw for every NIL dollar you can. And the player personnel decisions are just brutal. So it's a fascinating time of the year to be kind of keeping a close eye on stuff like this.
And I could see it going both ways, though. I mean, if the guy comes, Javen Buchanan, NAI player that maybe not as many people knew about, Boise State gets him for a year, and then he blows up even more, and all of a sudden, bigger schools come in, and maybe a guy like that, Boise State is willing to go 2 years, or maybe when you're recruiting a guy, you're like, you know what, yeah, we don't want him having for 1 year, then all of a sudden him leaving for another year. We want to know we can count on him for 2 years, and maybe it was a case with a guy like Dylan Anderson, and then it backfired, or maybe you know how it is in free agency. Oh, the Cardinals are offering 4 years, but the Cubs went 5. So we're taking that 5th year from the Cubs, that extra, so maybe if you're willing to guarantee more years or whatever, maybe that makes it worth it for a player to commit and things like that. So yeah, we'll see what the loopholes are in the contracts and all that and how that pans out. But I wouldn't say it's a foregone conclusion that Dylan Anderson is gone. I would say, as you kind of laid out a scenario there, I do think there is a scenario where he could be back. And if it's as a role player, maybe get in for a couple minutes here and there. And if they do still think there's area for him to improve. I mean, these kids are 20, 21 years old. They improve as basketball players, and maybe another off season he can improve and be a viable, option moving forward. And like you said, if it's for 1/5 of the cost, maybe that's something Boise State would do. I don't know. So we'll see. It's obviously a weird times. And again, the transfer portal is open for basketball. So there could be news on this literally at any second. The coaching news could happen at any second as well. And they are back scheduled today to have their first practice as they get ready for the Crown tournament. And then we'll have some interviews later this week and find out maybe some clarity on the roster and who's here and who's not here. But big week for the football program as well. We're going to talk to Eric Shenander at 11 o'clock. Practices resume tomorrow, and then pro day on Wednesday. I want to get Mike's thoughts on that in just a second. But first, I want to thank some of our great sponsors that make this show free of charge for you to watch here on social media. And that includes our title sponsor, rowpaint.com. All your painting needs, whether it's those concrete coatings, interior, exterior paintings, make sure you hit up our title sponsor, rowpaint.com. Taco Bell, Treasure Valley, locally owned Taco Bell locations, the SOM Management Group, the Nicolason family. They are hiring. Get more information on a job at tacobellworks.com, and the food's pretty darn good as well. Visit a local Treasure Valley Taco Bell location today. Idaho Central Credit Union. We're hoping actually to get a Tyson Degenhardt show this week. We're going to have Ball Talk returning this week. We got a lot of shows popping up, Riley and Rid as well, so we're getting back to a lot of the evening shows moving forward here. But ICCU.com, there's a branch pretty much on every corner, but the easiest is that mobile e-branch online banking right there in your smartphone. Visit a branch today or check out ICCU.com. Jackson's has the $3 meal deal going on. Get a Tornado and a Gatorade water or fountain drink for $3. Tornado, Gatorade water or fountain, and we get a Tornado and either a Gatorade or a fountain drink for $3. If you want to go for the $5 meal deal, you get 2 hot dogs and a kettle chips for $5 at Jackson's. And don't forget, they got that 99-cent coffee anytime, day or night, using the Let's Go Rewards app. Hey, Snake River Pool and Spa, patio and game. TheSpaTeam.com. They're ready to serve you at one of their 4 locations, Twin Falls, Boise, Meridian, Nampa. They've been around since 1978. They're part of the Boise State home team. Get more information online at TheSpaTeam.com. This is a Blue and Orange Store Monday here at Bronco Nation News. The Blue and Orange Store, great deals going on right now. They got the clearance rack up there at the front of the store, the best value in town. You can order online anywhere in the world, theblueandorangestore.com, or if you want the best selection, the best prices, jerseys, caps, car flags, bumper stickers, just go into the Boise Town Square Mall next to Pro Image. Hey, Lithia Ford of Boise, lithiafordboise.com. They got some great deals going on right now. You can view their full inventory at lithiafordboise.com. Rains family, loving our F-150 from Lithia. You will as well, whether it's the Ford, all the great options they have there, the Explorers, the Edge, the F-150s, they got you covered. The Expeditions, the Broncos, great options, great prices, and you're helping support a company that steps up in the NIL game that we're talking about in Jim Sturk and Lithia Ford of Boise. Again, view them online at lithiafordboise.com. And our friend Matt Bauscher, he's stepped up as well. Bauscher Real Estate, #1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley is Matt Bauscher and Bauscher Real Estate. No home is too big or too small for Matt and his team. He is ready to help you out all your real estate needs, whether you're buying or selling a home. Check them out online at BauscherRealEstate.com. All right, Mike, anticipated week for football, pro day on Wednesday. I'm going to put the over-under 2.5. Let's go 2.5 NFL head coaches being at pro day, which we never would have thought we'd say for a Boise State pro day before. I mean, occasionally you get a Chuck Pagano who wanted a trip back home or whatever and would come out. But is Pete Carroll? I mean, if the Raiders are thinking about him at 6, is Pete Carroll here on Wednesday? Is the Bears coach here on Wednesday? Is Kellen Moore here on Wednesday? I mean, there's teams that are thinking about taking him. And as you know, Mike, if you've got a top 15 pick in this draft, you're probably seeing pro day for your guy. If you're going to seriously consider taking him, I would think, but you're going to have, whether it's head coaches or not, you're going to have, private planes with multiple scouts, pro personnel director. I mean, they've already sent out the email that the media is going to be in a corner that we're usually not in because there's going to be, anticipated a lot of extra people. I mean, it's going to be a circus on Wednesday. What's your thoughts on now? Here we are 48 hours from Ashton Jeanty's pro day.
Yeah, I love the fact that you opened up with Pete Carroll, and this is how my bizarre mind works. I woke up this morning thinking about Pete Carroll. And I've joked constantly on Idaho Sports Talk about how I spent one football season about 15, 20 years ago stalking Pete Carroll when he was at USC. I'm a huge fan of this guy. And I woke up this morning thinking, wait a minute. We've been talking about Ashton Jeanty going 6 to the Raiders. Pete Carroll's the head coach of the Raiders. This is a big investment. Pete Carroll could very well show up at pro day. And that would be kind of a fun deal for me personally, just to see him and watch that, and certainly bring a lot of excitement to pro day. It doesn't matter if it's Pete Carroll, and certainly Kellen Moore would bring a lot of excitement as well, but anybody showing up, and the buzz inside that building on Wednesday is going to be fantastic. Now, here's the one issue that I have, and we're going to spend a lot of time over these next couple of days debating this as well. I've been trying to reach out to to Ashton Jeanty's camp and try to find out exactly what his schedule is. We're not quite sure, and it's not 100% a given that Ashton Jeanty's going to work out on Wednesday. As a matter of fact, I think if I was in charge of him, which would be a massive mistake if Ashton Jeanty put me in charge of his future, I don't know if I would let him work out. It worked at the Combine, where I did want to see him work out just because it's fun to watch Ashton Jeanty do his thing. And it would be fun to watch him do his thing on Wednesday. But Ashton Jeanty's credibility, Ashton Jeanty's value has never been higher. And he hasn't done a thing since he walked off the field at the Fiesta Bowl, other than recover his body and do the dog and pony show, do the awards show, and do a lot of traveling and hang out and have a lot of fun and enjoy the fruits of what he's done. I don't know if I need to work out, because if you get a 4.45 as opposed to a 4.35, they might nitpick that to death. I don't know if it's going to matter, but it's nitpick season in the NFL. And they build these guys up to try to tear them down. And they're going to look for any piece of evidence that they can to kind of knock those guys down. Now, if Pete Carroll's mind is made up and that's who he wants, it probably doesn't matter. And behind the scenes, these NFL teams probably know exactly what Ashton Jeanty is going to do. If he's going to show up and do the complete full-on workout, or if he's going to show up and just kind of be hanging out and not do a lot of the workouts. I don't think I'd work out, BJ. I think I would show up and support my teammates, be the rah-rah guy, and just let what's happened naturally over the last month has really worked for Ashton Jeanty. He hasn't had to do a thing. I think I would keep it the same exact way.
What's the precedent of that, Mike Prater? I mean, I'm trying to think back. I mean, I can't imagine. I can't remember too many guys that weren't injured just saying, I'm not doing any workouts ever at all. And I wonder if that would at all deter a team. Like, well, what are you hiding if you don't want to work out here? I mean, I can't remember too many that didn't do anything.
No, and you're right. And I don't think that's the main numbers, but I guarantee you what's happened. There's been lots of people drafted in the first round, or at least a decent number of people. And I'll go back and do the research before we go on the air this afternoon of absolutely doing nothing. And I don't know. I mean, it's a strategy. I think it's worth talking about. The offseason has worked really well for Ashton Jeanty. Again, every time we look at a mock draft, he seems to climb. At one point, could he fall to the Denver Broncos at 20? Could he fall to the Cowboys at 12? Is he going to the Raiders at 6? I mean, he's climbed the draft boards. He's climbed the draft charts without doing anything. Ashton Jeanty's going to show up and work out and be just fine. And there's nothing to be afraid of. And yeah, if you go that route, I guess a couple of NFL teams are going to have some red flags. But if Pete Carroll really wants him at number 6 and Ashton Jeanty doesn't work out at Pro Day, is Pete Carroll all of a sudden going to say, nah, I'm not going to take him. He didn't work out in Boise. I don't think it quite works like that. But I just think it's fascinating, the strategy behind the scenes. Again, I wish he would have done the combine. He didn't. Now that he's not done the combine and things are going so well for him this offseason, I think it's worth at least having a conversation if I'm Ashton Jeanty in his camp.
So back in 2008, Ryan Clady went number 12, obviously, and he's the highest Boise State draft pick to this point. Where if the over under was, I guess, 11.5 in turn, and I'm sure there'd be some odds in that. But I mean, is he? What are you thinking in terms of him possibly? I mean, that's obviously one of the many storylines to this. Is can he go higher than 12 and be the highest Boise State player ever picked?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's either the Cowboys at 12. The Cowboys are at 12, right? The Cowboys are at 12. The Raiders are at 6. I don't see Ashton
Bears at 10, right?
What's that?
For the Bears at 10, I've heard some interest there. Maybe I forget where the Saints are picking.
Yeah, the Saints are at 9, and that might be a possibility, but not because of Kellen Moore and his Boise State connection. Sure. That doesn't work in the NFL, guys. I think 6 Raiders, maybe 9 or 10. The Saints or Bears, although the Bears would be terrible because they got to work on that offensive line. I hope he doesn't go there. I see either 6 to the Raiders or 12 to the Dallas Cowboys is kind of what I'm looking at here. And I don't know. It's just kind of fascinating. It's really kind of cool to see. And yeah, I think there's a really good possibility that Ashton Jeanty sets the school record for the highest draft pick ever. And, I mean, nobody's more deserving. I mean, no offense to Ryan Clady, but Ashton Jeanty takes this to a whole nother level, and I would love to see him break that record.
And because of Ashton Jeanty, there's going to be a lot of eyes there on some of these other prospects as well. We heard that Cam Camper obviously is going to be working out now for Boise State at Pro Day. Mike Dalmas, Ben Dooley, Herbert Gums, Ahmed Hassanin, Cooper Jones, Sheldon Newton, Shea Oladipo, Rodney Robinson, Taryn Shive, Alexander Tubner, Tavion Woodard. Who else amongst that group behind Jeanty are you going to be paying attention to on Wednesday?
Well, obviously Ahmed Hassanin, who did go through the combine and has pretty much locked himself in. He's a Saturday guy to me, a third-day guy, and that's okay. And I still wouldn't be surprised if he didn't go, but I think at this point, Ahmed Hassanin is going to get drafted. We'll see how that plays out. There's a couple of other tweeners that I'm really, really intrigued of. Ben Dooley and Jonah Dalmas, just based on their college careers, are going to get some eyes in the NFL, and I think they're going to get some kind of chances. Camp Camper certainly is a late addition after we solved his offseason mystery of Is he going to the transfer portal? No, he's not. He doesn't have any eligibility. Is he declaring for the NFL draft? I don't know. Well, we kind of confirmed it with Boise State last week, and he is going to be there. I think physically, Cam Camper is good enough to attract some NFL attention. Mentally, I hope he's strong enough and confident enough and out there smart enough to kind of play that game a little bit as well. So I'm intrigued by the Cam Camper thing. Shea Oladipo, just based on his speed, and he's got decent size. I think he's going to get a little bit of a look. After that, I think there's a whole bunch of guys running around chasing dreams, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong with chasing dreams for one afternoon and seeing how you can do.
Hey, you're looking for Kellen Moore and Pete Carroll and all this. I'm just hoping there's a Battlehawk scout there. All right, come on. Let's
this is not called NFL Pro Day. It's called Pro Day because the CFL scouts, the USFL scouts, the NFL scouts, they all show up.
I'm looking forward to it. Going to be one of the crazier ones. I wasn't around here for that 2012 one when they had the 7 or 8 guys that got drafted or whatever it was, and with Shea McClellan going first round. I mean, I wasn't here for that one, but I hear this is going to rival that, if not be better. So I'm looking forward to Wednesday. Looking forward to tomorrow, getting back out there and watching practice. Looking forward to today at 11 o'clock, talking to Eric Chenander. What questions does Mike Prater have for Eric Chenander? I'll ask him here to finish up the show in just a second. First, Ridley's Family Markets, shopridleys.com. Locations all across the Treasure Valley, Magic Valley, state of Idaho. If you're looking for that hometown grocery store feel, hit up Ridley's Family Markets and download that Skip app. Get savings up to 40% off at the checkout line. Transportation compliance service. If you're looking for a job, transcompservice.com has you covered. Get into the trucking industry and get out there towing that first load in no time. 866-813-7620. Or it's a local company helping out folks all over the world at transcompservice.com. Lean Feast, leanfeastmeridian.com. 10,000 plus combinations, healthy meal eating options. Whether it's chicken, steak, shrimp, fish, they got you covered. 2 minutes in the microwave is all it takes, and they deliver anywhere in the Treasure Valley, and you can order on a Sunday. It's good in your refrigerator for 5 days, and you're eating healthy meals all week at the office. leanfeastmeridian.com. And we want some voicemails. Signature Roofing voice inbox. You can leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/BNN. speakpipe.com/BNN. It's brought to you by Signature Roofing, covering our community for more than 2 decades. Whether it's a re-roof, repair, an estimate, and inspection, they got you covered at Signature Roofing, online at mysignatureroofing.com. And again, you can leave that voicemail for the show at speakpipe.com/BNN. By the way, Mike Prater, our friends down at Circa Resort and Casino, they're one of the sponsors of this Crown tournament. And we may be having a little last-second giveaway here. If a BNN subscriber has some free time next week and might be interested in going down to the Crown, we may there may be some news in the next day or two of like a last-minute package where you may get to stay at Circa and get some tickets and get a flight down to Vegas for the Crown.
Nice.
So we'll just stay tuned for that. But you got to be a paying subscriber to BNN, and we're working on some things possibly to get a little package put together for the Crown at the last minute. So stay tuned for that. But Eric Chenander talking at 11 o'clock today. By the way, the new mural, I don't know if you saw the picture there, Mike. We'll get our first look inside the lobby of the Blaymire. They updated the mural when you walk in there, and it looked like it had the college football playoff trophy on there, and then some players on there. Looked a little different than kind of the old just guy holding up the hammer from previous years. So we'll get a chance in person. We'll get a chance in person to see that today when you walk in. I know Spencer Danielson had tweeted a photo of it yesterday, I believe. But Eric Chenander, this defense, practice number 4 tomorrow. Where are you at with the defense right now?
Yeah, when we talked to Spencer Danielson, his spring camp opened up, we learned that Devon Banks has moved from corner back to the nickel spot, along with these newcomers, Webb and Miller. So that position is kind of, at least going into spring ball, has been shored up just a little bit. So that leaves me with 2 questions. One, the ripple effect and the depth at cornerback, because right now I got Irby and McCoy and not a lot of others. They brought a lot of defensive backs in. There's 25 new football players on this team, and I'd say maybe a third of them are defensive backs, but they list them as DBs. And I would imagine that's on purpose because they're going to go out there and experiment. They need to build some safety depth. They need to build some cornerback depth, and I can't wait to see where all this fits in. But the biggest question I have for Eric Chenander moving forward, and the one question we didn't get answered when Spencer Danielson opened up spring camp, was the nose tackle position. There's a penciled-in starter on every position on this defense, including 3 of the 4 spots across the front line of this defense. There is nobody at the nose tackle right now, at least that I know. I know they were playing with some guys on those first 2 practices or those first 3 practices of spring camp, but you got Steege, you got JVM, you got Feely at the DT spot, but where's going to be the nose tackle spot, and I want to find out what they're playing, how they're experimenting. So just kind of shoring up some spring depth maintenance roster stuff. Who's going to be the nose tackle? Who's going to be depth behind safeties? Who's going to provide some depth behind the cornerbacks? Those are the three things I'm looking for answers, not only from Shenander this week, but when we get to watch practice throughout the week.
And obviously one of those guys that could be in the mix at corner, Jaden Mickey, the corner from Notre Dame, 4-star recruit, not here yet, won't be here till the summer. So he may factor in down the road on that, but obviously isn't here right now. When you get out to practice, I mean, that's one area, obviously, but where else tomorrow when you get out to practice at 9 a.m. or whatever it is, where are you going to be going? Which position group are you going to be heading down to watch?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in those first couple practices just looking at the offense and because that's kind of where your eyes go, apparently. So I'm going to spend a lot of time just talking about what I just talked about. Who's playing depth in the cornerback? Who's playing depth in the safety? Who's playing depth across the front of that defensive line? But in terms of the offense, I'm always keeping an eye on this wide receiver room. I'm fascinated by the wide receiver room. There's a couple of good guys there that could be maybe wide receiver one, a couple of guys that could provide some depth. But I'm looking for the alpha male when it comes to the wide receiver. Can that be a Chris Marshall? Can that be somebody else? The biggest question, though, I think we're all going to be looking for when practice resumes again, is Sire Gaines going to be out there running around? It's been so long since we've seen this guy play. And it was like, last November, he's getting close. Last December, he could almost play. The Fiesta Bowl, game time decision. He could have played if he had to. And we've still never seen Sire Gaines. We show up for the first week of spring camp last week, and there's no Sire Gaines. He still needs some time to get ready. There's no rush. And, I'm not trying to be impatient here, although I guess I kind of am just a little bit. It's more out of a curiosity. And my biggest issue with Sire Gaines right now is the whole availability thing. That freak injury, that wasn't his fault last year. So I'm not going to blame that on him. But his body and how it responds to treatment and how it gets taken care of. I know he had surgery, so this was no run-of-the-mill high ankle sprain. This was a major, major injury that required surgery. But here we are in March, and we're still kind of dealing with the after effects. Maybe it's just because Boise State's being careful, and that's smart. That's okay. I don't need Boise State to win any football games right now. I need them to get Sire Gaines mentally healthy. I need to get him physically healthy, and I can't wait to see if he's out there on the practice field this week.
Well, you guys will have it covered all at KTIK 95.3, the ticket, 3 to 6 weekdays. I know today you'll have some of that Eric Chenander sound. You'll be monitoring the transfer portal. A nice Monday show on tap today.
Yeah, looking forward to it. We'll wrap up some NCAA stuff. Looking forward to football. Looking forward to basketball. And it's just a crazy, fun collision of seasons. So I can't wait for pro day and practice. And we're going to spend a lot of time at Boise State this week. Once Boise State basketball opens up practice, I know you'll be all over that. What a cool time. What a cool time for Boise State athletics over these next 10 days. Let's dive in and have some fun, BJ.
Prater in the ball game, 3 o'clock today, KTIK 95.3, the ticket. Make sure you check out Prater in the ball game and all their great content at KTIK.com as well. And that'll be Johnny and Bob and Prater and the whole crew there. KTIK, they'll have you covered 3 to 6 weekdays, and we appreciate our partnership very much with Prater and Johnny and KTIK and BNN here. So stay tuned to both outlets for complete coverage of spring football, of the Crown, and everything else going on, transfer portal and everything else in Boise State athletics right now. So, Mike, appreciate you as always. We'll be listening 3 o'clock today. We'll see you down there a little over an hour for Eric Chenander at 11 o'clock. We'll get that video up on the BNN YouTube channel as well this afternoon. Then you guys will be all over it at 3 o'clock. And I'll be back 9 a.m. tomorrow with Jay Tust. By the way, Nathan Carroll did write an article looking at the expected Mountain West performance versus what's happened the last decade. And you are correct, Mike Prater. The numbers are not great, but maybe not quite as bad as some would have thought. If you're curious on the Mountain West and the NCAA tournament lack of success, you can read that article right now at BroncoNationNews.com. Appreciate our advertisers, all of our paying subscribers, all of you for watching. Give us a quick like, subscribe on YouTube on the way out the door here, and I'll see you with Jay Tust 9 a.m. tomorrow. Bronco Nation News Live. Have a great day, everybody. BroncoNationNews.com.
Bronco Nation News is presented by our title sponsor, RowPaint.com. Our major sponsors, Idaho Central Credit Union, Taco Bell, Lithia Ford, the Blue and Orange Store, Jackson's, and our contributing sponsors, Signature Roofing, Western Collective, Snake River Pool and Spa, Transportation Compliance Service, Voucher Real Estate, Ridley's Family Markets, Circa Las Vegas, Lean Feast, and Timberstone Golf Course.